So, yeah, unfortunately no one of us won, but nevertheless, yeah, welcome everyone. And my name is Toby, and our guest today is Frank Schimmelfennig, political scientist at the ETH Zurich. And yeah, we have some questions for you today, and very happy that you're here with us today. And so the first thing that came to our mind was you have covered a lot of different topics. You've studied on international relations theory, on international institutions, on the European Union. In the beginning of your career, your academic career, what was your main intention when you studied political science back in 1981?
Well, actually, at that time, political science was not my major. It was a second subject I had chosen. I started studying history because that was the subject I liked most at school. But after studying a couple of semesters, I found that history is actually a bit boring, yeah? And I was attracted by the more theoretical perspective of political science. Yeah? So after 2 years or so, I switched. The other motivation was that during those years, my first years of study, this was the time of the German peace movement, and I was dragged into the issues, and that made me think about international relations, and also attracted me to international relations theory. And that's basically the reason why. So, I mean, when I started studying political science, it was not the science that actually attracted me. It was more the politics, and the science came much later.
So it changed over time. How would you describe this change in your motivation?
Well, I think it has, as I said, to some extent, it had to do with the political developments around me, which I found fascinating. It was not just the German peace movement, also the changes in Eastern Europe, yeah, that I found extremely attractive, and I was mainly driven, yeah, by those developments around me, and I was mainly interested in the politics, yeah, to understand what was going on. But then I also thought about the theoretical implications, because I mean that was of course a time at which let's say the Cold War theories of international relations were put into question. Let's say theories of democratization became interesting again, yeah, and so I thought that was an interesting thing. And then as I mentioned, the science came much later. Basically, not before I started doing my PhD was I interested in, let's say, methods and research design. So that's, I mean, it was really coming from the politics. Yeah.
Okay, and so taking this into concern, do you think that there has been a development towards a private or a personal Frank Schimmelfennig and Frank Schimmelfennig as professor in international relations, or how would you define this relationship?
Oh, yeah. Of course, there is a private side. I'm not a full-time professor, meaning that there is a private life too. But and I think yes. I mean, it was really some kind of personal interest in politics that drew me to the issues, yeah. But I think it's a profession, yeah, and I think one can clearly distinguish the professional political scientist from the political person, yeah. And I think these things also have to be different things, yeah. I think it's not healthy for the science, yeah, to bring in too much of the personal politics. On the other hand, it's also bad for the science if there's no personal engagement, personal political motivation driving the interest in doing political science.
So you would definitely also recommend young students who are also have a normative aim in politics to study political science and to become political scientists, or do you think that this is then somehow the wrong way to choose?
No, definitely not. I mean, even within political science, very broadly defined, of course, you have political theory. Yeah? So for people who are very normatively inclined, I think political theory is an interesting field. On the other hand, I think, I mean, as during the time I worked as a political scientist, I think the discipline has become a lot more scientific. Yeah, there's much more emphasis placed on methods, and what I often see among many of our students is they are really attracted to the methods. Yeah, because it has to do. I mean, that's also where they can really be good at due to their technical interest and skills. Yeah, so I think when I started doing political science, you probably had to bring people more from the normative engagement side to the science or the discipline. I think these days often it's the other way around. Yeah, you have to tell all these methods freaks, yeah, that there's more to political science than fancy techniques of data analysis or experiments for their own sake.
Yeah. What are you currently working on?
Well, I'm still working on the European Union. That's my main field. I have been working on differentiated integration in the European Union. That has been a recent research project. Currently, I also work together with other people on a project that seeks to explain the establishment and development of international parliamentary institutions. So we are interested by the question why ever more regional organizations establish parliaments that actually don't do much. Yeah, so that's one of the puzzles we're looking at. But basically, it's everything that has to do with European integration. Of course, this is a topic in which a lot of stuff is going on, and also very unexpected things that force you to think further about the issue.
At this moment, I also want to motivate all of you to participate in our discussion. We opened this Facebook live interview also for you to raise your questions, and when you have questions for Frank Schimmelfennig, please raise them too. Yeah, so there was one thing you were just referring to, which kind of showed that you're also a constructivist scholar, and you have written something on socialization. You have indirectly referred to it right now. Which role does socialization play in nowadays politics?
Well, I wouldn't call myself a constructivist scholar. I mean, I've used constructivist approaches and theories, yeah, but I always think that theories shouldn't be part of your own identity. They are tools that you use to explain what's going on. And of course, during a specific time in international relations theory, there has been a little bit of a hype regarding socialization or the possibilities of socialization. Personally, I must say, I've come to think that the possibilities are actually quite limited, yeah, and that it only works under specific circumstances. So much of what we find in international socialization is that it is generally rather secondary, shallow. Yeah, so let's say my belief or hope, yeah, that socialization processes are really a force of transformation in international politics are not so high anymore after having seen the research that's been done on it.
So would you say that there's change in the patterns of norms that change the structure of socialization, or how would you define what is going on?
Yeah, I think the politics of norms, that's definitely something that is going on. So norms are established, they are contested, movements, parties, to some extent also governments, yeah, try to establish international norms, change norms. So that's a constant struggle, yeah. But I'm just not so convinced that this process is a process of socialization. I would rather say it's a process of norm contestation in which the individual actors try to push their own norms, and let's say processes of true argumentation, persuasion, conviction are not the rule, but rather the exception.
I just saw that we have one question from Nadja, who's asking, in your theory on rhetorical action, you're referring to diplomacy as some kind of reciprocal and appropriate behavior. What influence will Putin and Trump together have as free riders on existing patterns of appropriateness?
Wow. The point of rhetorical action is actually that actors use norms in a self-serving manner. Yeah? So I wouldn't call it appropriate behavior. It's the basic pattern is that everybody tries to push the norms that they have. I'm not really sure that either Putin or Trump are normative actors in that respect, that have a normative agenda. It rather seems to me that both have an anti-normative agenda, basically trying to limit or do away with some of the fundamental norms on which the post-Cold War order has been built. I mean, in the case of Trump, we don't really know yet. Yeah? We probably shouldn't take every campaign statement on its face value, but in the case of Putin, we already know, that one of his main agendas is to actually push back, the normative order, the Western normative order that has been established before and after the Cold War.
Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, if there are no questions, furthermore questions, I really want to thank you for our small discussion.
Yeah, thanks for the interview.
Yeah. And we thank you also for watching and for joining us, and wish you a great day. Many thanks to the University of Göttingen also to give us this place. And if you're interested, you will obviously also have some more possibilities in the future to watch and participate in our talks. Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye. Thank you.